Hey, fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner, and welcome back to the RPG Daily, your daily dose of all things tabletop role-playing games. As you notice, this is not a cleric video, but it's going down today anyways, because those kind of videos, they take a little bit more effort to produce, and I do want to keep making content, but sometimes things just kind of get in the way. So today we're looking at, we're having a special video for you today. I'm actually looking at the Inkarnate 1.0 software that they are slowly rolling out to premium members or people with subscriptions to try out and test out as they are building up their software into something new. If you don't know about Inkarnate, it's because you didn't watch my map-making software video, because I talk about it briefly in that. But essentially, it's one of the largest or more popular map-making softwares in existence because it's browser-based, it's easy to access, easy to do stuff on, and it looks good. So people like myself and many other game masters I know of who have no true artistic ability, meaning we can't draw worth beans. I can draw a little bit, but my artistic ability lies in other things, just not paper and pencil and computer arts. So they made this software for people like us. So we're showing this off. As you can see here on the screen, I'm logged in. It is a different dashboard than the other Inkarnate system was, but they do import all of your old maps if you have them. It's kind of a shift of account. It's not like a new account, but since I had to go sign up to get into this testing, the beta test, and then they sent an email back to me like a week later saying, okay, your account's moved over to 1.0, go try it out. So we're just going to jump into making a map right here. We're going to hit new map. I'm going to try this Fantasy Regional HD. Now, the reason is because it's different. For some reason, they created these separate things, and I'm not entirely sure why. Part of me thinks they could take all of the assets and make them into the HD version, but then just leave the creativity to the people who are creating it. But I'll have to look into each one of these categories to see why they're different. I know there are different assets in each one, but I question the need to have them separated in the first place. But we're going to click on Fantasy Regional HD, hit choose style. I'm going to go with the high 2K. I'll stick with this 4:3. This is an aspect ratio setting, so it's not inches, but you could put in inches of height or size that you want, and that'll show up. It has the medium, high, and ultra. I was recording at ultra earlier, and it crashed my computer. My computer can handle it, but I'm also screen recording two screens at 4K right now because I can't tell it to not record two screens. So instead, we're just going to do the high 2K quality, and I'll hit create map. It's going to load in. You see, it fills up the screen anyway because they, just did that. I'm going to zoom out a tiny bit to see the edges because I like seeing the edges. So let's make a map of something. In my world of Yndir, there's a place called Merovingia that the players in my world have just discovered or just more are experiencing the existence of it. The concept behind this place is I want it to be a location where the material plane intersects with the elemental planes a little more closely. So it's where all of the elemental creatures live. A lot of Genasi's will live there. It's just a place where it's like people were living there, but then because of its close proximity to the elemental plane, the descendants of those who settled there first have turned into Genasi's, and then a bunch of, genies and Ifritis have come in and other elemental creatures. So the place is very much a isolated region that is like if a Genasi exists in the world, they're probably from that location, from Merovingia. Which is why one of my players has a villain character called the Merovingian, and that character is I think I made him a water Genasi or an air Genasi. He's an air Genasi. And so he is from this place, and that's why he has that title, the Merovingian, because he's a mobster. That's a little backstory on this map we're going to be building. But it's also going to be kind of I believe it's called an Atoll, or an Atoll, where it's kind of a circle of land with water on both sides. So it's like an inverse island, I guess we could say. No, that's a lake. Anyways, we're going to draw that out. So I'm going to start here. I have my mask tool. This is how you do the land masses. You have your add and subtract mode. You can do shapes, circles, grids. You can change your brush size, and you can do some other things. So I'm just going to add on. I'm going to turn my brush size up even higher, though, because the bigger the brush, the more land you can cover. And I'm going to just... I'm doing this largely so I can test all the tools out too. So I'm roughing in the shape. Do I need to fill in all this? No, I don't. Okay. You saw it paused a little bit. It took some time and filled in the border of my preset. I want to change this. I'm going to try this changes to a coastal scene. See how that takes. This is what crashed my computer last time. So the coastal scene is several lines and a kind of a yellow. I don't like that look, so I'm going to change it. I'm going to try the river scene. These are just presets of various settings on the edges that you can do. I don't like the river either. The lake is very dark. That could work in like a mountain scene, so I get that. And let's try the swamp scene. They added some green. I'm not a fan of either of those, so we're just going to go back to the default, and I'm going to play around with this. So the stroke here, I take it that is the line around the edges of all my little land. So you can make it thicker or thinner. Personally, I like a thinner stroke. I probably go to 1.5 on this. 1.4 sounds good. So it's not too thin, but you get the idea that that's the edge. Let's give it an outline. What does this do? Okay, I kind of like that. It has a stroke and then you have a thin outline on the outside of that. That does that. We can also click here on ripple effect and create some ripples in our water. If I have ripples, I'm going to remove the outline because I do like the idea of the ripples just coming right up against the shore. Let's give it a couple more. Let's go 7. Let's get a little obscene with this. Have 7 ripples and give them a little bit of bigger gap between them all. So it's there. Oh, that's way too big. We're gonna go down to 2. I was really confident about that decision, about 2.5, but it didn't work. I like 2, it's more subtle. You can add shadows and inner shadows here. I think I'm gonna just, if I remove the inner shadow, what does it look like? I don't like that. I'd rather have the inner shadow there. So I'm gonna leave the shadows on. This is just the outside of the landmass. You can see though I bled over the edge of my map. I went too far on all sides, so I gotta clean it up. So I gotta use the subtraction tool to do that, and I have to make it a bunch of islands. So I'm gonna go my subtraction, I'm gonna do my sizes. This time I'm gonna try the key commands, so I can hit S and it will shrink down ever so slowly to something like that. All right, we'll clean this up. So I'm just gonna give us some space. It looks like if you click off of the map, then it doesn't actually do anything for you, so you got to make sure the center of your circle is in the map area. So again, I'm gonna have to clean it up again. It's just gonna be layers of revisions because I want this to be a good sized map of the area. I don't want it to be this rectangle that I'm making. So doing that, and then I'm gonna start carving out the center because this is an atoll, so the land it's gonna be kind of like thin islands in a big ring is the idea. And if it looks ugly at the end, don't judge me. Don't at me if it's ugly because I'm doing my best. The inspiration from this came from the world generating software that's out there, Asgard's world generator, and clicking Atoll and learning what that was is kind of cool. So it's gonna be pretty narrow, but it's not to scale, or it is to scale, and these are actually pretty broad areas here, right? So we can do that, and then I can come in, I can shrink my subtractor. Let's go down even smaller, and then we'll just carve out some islands and stuff here, and give it some variety or something, I guess. I kind of like the edges on this. For this particular map, these edges work well because it just gives a lot of random variety, even though it's pretty procedural, the idea. I'm going to give this one like a long stretch here. I kind of like that happy accident right there with that piece, but that looks too uniform to me. Again, I'm not an artist. I'm just figuring this out as we go here. So... and then this will be just like a weird shape because that's kind of neat, and then this will have a thing going up there. I think that actually kind of looks neat. It does make me think that there could be more of like elemental effects going on in the different areas if I had earth, fire, wind, water, the water being in the middle probably. Speaking of in the middle, let's add a couple small islands, places that people can, you know, live. We'll just make it a happy face. I'm almost tempted to leave it, but I won't because that looks a bit absurd. Let's see how this eraser goes in large amounts. Ugh. I know they are adding in an undo and a redo button, but it's not there yet, so we're stuck with erasing. I'm going to make this one a little bigger, and then I'll probably have another... This could be a different kind of island thing here. And there we go, just making a face again. I should not be doing... I should be fired. So then... We have a thing here, we have layers, so we have objects, the foreground, and the background, and you can turn these off. So the background is the water, the land is considered the foreground, and then objects are any of the things we put on the foreground. And I like the layered thing. It's like Photoshop or other softwares. Working in layers makes it really easy to, you know, turn something off. At this point, though, I want to mention you should always save your work. Hit the save button. They do have it so you can hit Control S or Command S on a Mac. We're going to save this as Merovingian and hit save. And it's going to save the work. A couple other features that I will show you once this is done saving also, because I think it's important to know some of these features. Oh, do they have a... They have an undo button. Wait, so if I erase that, I can... They have, the undo button's working. Why did I see that earlier? Oh well, they have undo buttons, guys. You come up here, you can hit save offline backup, and it'll give you the chance to download the map file so you can save it, and then you can re-upload it also on here to get it. We're not going to do that right now, but that is an option for you if you want it. I got the basic thing kind of circled in. I want to put some features in here. I think this is an interesting area that could work for like sea monsters or water. Maybe I can make like an underground island where some, you know, water elementals live or something. Maybe that can work. So for doing that, I'm actually going to make a chunk. I'm still in subtraction mode. I'm going to make a pretty good size thing here then. And I'm going to subtract this one. And then this island, I'm going to paint it or change the transparency somehow so it looks like it's underwater. We'll call that the basic shape of it. Now let's go to the brush tool. The brush is colors. It gives the depth to your maps. This is where this is trouble because I'm not an artist. I've said that many times. So I'm going to go click on the blue land, and I'm just going to paint this one the blue land. But I think it was a little too opaque. So, Control Z, and I undid it. You can change your opacity and which layer you're painting also up here on the top. So, this is opacity. It is at 1, which is full opacity. You also have a softness thing, which is really good. I'm going to take the softness down to about half. I'm going to take the opacity down to about 3/4 for this blue paint we're doing. And so that way it still has some of the brown in that, but overall it's blue. That's like all I'm going to do on that one right now because it's underwater. We're not going to get crazy. So some of these lands, I want this tall one over here to be kind of a mountain area, but this doesn't seem to have any way to show changes in elevation other than using objects. So instead we're going to use some green. Texture adjustment. Oh, interesting. So I guess with the texture you can click it and change how the texture works on the map. That's kind of a cool thing if you want to mix up the look a little bit. For that, I'm going to hit land 2, and I'm going to do a kind of a smaller size brush here. Again, on my foreground. The background is good so you don't paint the background accidentally. And I'm going to make this is going to be like the top of the mountain. That's big. And I'm going to make sure I paint it extra good in green. And then I'm going to use a more faint green around it, and there I'm going to do the opacity. I'm going to soften up a lot more, and we're just going to go, oops, paint around it. I think this is something you do, and then I'm going to go to like tan and do it again at even lower opacity, and it looks like a big green pimple on the land. But that's a mountain. I'll put a mountain thing up there. I guess that's one downside of this is you see it has this weird overlay right here now, which looks pretty bad. So I'm going to just remove that part and do it in one click. Or half a click. Maybe I can do that, and maybe I can come here and catch that without... it's not the prettiest. I think my opacity might need to go up, and my softness needs to stay the same. Let's try that. Soft. Nope. I'm just gonna not have that part there. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't know what I did. It worked fine. The rest of this, I'm just gonna do a simple, some greens on them, the green areas. Like I said, this is just a demonstration of what we got going on here. Nothing crazy. These islands, I'm gonna leave with like, I'm gonna make them like more of a sandy area. You can also, I guess if I change the opacity, some of that texture will come through, which is actually much nicer. We'll work on it. Some green, some tan here. I'm still learning, okay? Put some here, and then we'll put some more green over on this one too, because it's like part of the mountain, I guess. Yeah, there we go. It's part of the mountain. Is it looking good? No, it's not looking good. It looks kind of bad. That's okay. That's not the point. Next, however, we're gonna look at some stamps. We're gonna look at objects. So I hit the stamp tool, and I'm gonna come over here. I'll close this layers. You have the object options, and it has here a recently used list and just a whole bunch of stuff. And you can disable collisions. And I thought there was a place where we could just click them all. Oh, here, choose. Hit that, and it shows me all my little tokens. And I can click all of these and access them. And this is more what I was looking for. So let's start with the compass rose, because those are fun. I kind of like that one, but I like this one more. So we're gonna put that, and we're gonna stamp a rose right up here. North is to the top, of course. That's how it should be. Then let's think of where might these people live? What is their kind of area that we're gonna be dealing with? That's an important thing to consider. And so first off, I'm gonna look for landscape. For me, I just wanna look up landscape textures I can throw in here. So I do have an area where it's more like fire. I'll have an area that's more wind, an area that's more water, which is underground, and I'll have a earthen area. The earth area, it's gonna be just like mountains, I think. If I can find a good mountain. Ooh, that is a crater. Craters are kind of cool. But here's a big mountain. And see, it's a little big here. But I would love to have this here. Can I rotate it? Yes. How bad is this if I rotate? Oh, I don't like the rotation. Look. That's one of the downsides of... I'm being candid. That's what is one of the downsides of Inkarnate and a lot of these types of software that uses these sprites. You can't rotate them because it's a two-dimensional image, so it doesn't work to rotate them too much unless you're creating a weird effect. If someone really wanted to up this game, each of these sprites would be like a 3D model that they could rotate, and it would change the perspective. That would be cool. If you're a programmer and can do that, talk to me. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and change object Z. Oh, this I guess is a layer between objects. You can change how those work. There's an opacity. Oh, here's the size. All right, so again, S and W will change the size of things, and I'm going to plop this mountain over on my mountain that I said was going to be here. And I'll plop it, and it does change. It looks like it changes a little bit, or am I mistaken? Let's put one more over here. Oh yeah, it changes. Every click changes the mountain, which is awesome. That's how it kind of should be in these situations. And you can actually layer up the mountain. See, I'm going to make just whole range right here on this bottom. I guess this lower area will just be Earth, the Earth Kingdom. That's kind of cool looking, actually. That fills in nicely. If you can do something like this, and you can also look over here and see the different options you have. You have 8 different types of mountains you can do. If you can build in terrain, like use the land paintbrushes as a baseline, but then you find terrain features that will really work. Ooh, a volcano. Why didn't I see that before? Let's take a volcano. Okay, so this is small. So I think this volcano is not HD. So I'm going to actually hide it. Here's where we're going to do something. I'm going to put the volcano here. And see how it's like behind the other one? I think that's cool. So this is going to be fire territory now. That's what I've decided. You only have some options that are not the HD version, I guess. You only get one option. You don't get, it doesn't alternate and switch through what it's giving you. So in that sense, I'm going to unclick the classic. I'm just going to use the regional HD versions to see what we can come up with these. I like the idea of a cave kind of being in here somewhere. Maybe right here. I'll shrink it down real good so it'll fit. So it's like the bottom of this mountain has a cave where someone lives. And just looking at it, I think they blend pretty good. Yeah, they're not terrible. They blend together all right. There's some more mountains, some dark mountains, some rocky mountains. I think something, snow-capped mountains. There is no such thing as a snow genasi, but there could be. I guess it's water. It's just a cold water genasi is a snow genasi. Or a frozen water genasi. But also, this whole atoll is not in a cold environment, so there's not really going to be ice. There's not going to be that. I'm not seeing anything good for fire in this area. I do see some rundown buildings that could be they look kind of underwatery, but I don't want to imply on that too much. I like the red crystals. Some gray mountains. Green mountains are neat. Blue crystals. Let's get... Oh, that one's tiny. Let's get some blue crystals in the middle here. Or just in random places. This will be... Maybe these are markers. I don't know. There's like a crystal of power. Or it's a range of crystals of power. Boom. Let's pick something else. We'll look at the other fantasy regional stuff and see what else they got here. This is where the volcano came from. A lot of trees. So the trees are also really good to throw in. I didn't pay attention in the regional HD to see if they had trees. Oh, they do have trees. Ooh. I like this one. I like this one for an air area. If you think about it, like Last Airbender or something where it's like big space. So I think if that's going to be fire, this is going to be earth, this will be air quadrant, and then the water is in the middle. Yeah, that's cool. I'll plant that guy right there, so he's like the big air one, and then we'll get some others. I'm going to use some symbols. Here we go. Ooh, I like the world tree. Do I like the world tree more, or do I like the other tree more? I'm going to stick with the other tree. I think it looks a little more impressive. Symbols. So you got, I could do birds, I could do fire, demons, that kind of stuff. You can symbols on your maps. Let's put a sea creature out here in the middle, but he's too small again. Sea creatures aren't supposed to be small. They're supposed to be big. Unless you're a small thing. Then the sea creature can be small because it's all relative to your scale. I like this idea of these karsts, they say. I just like that idea. It kind of fits with the theme I'm setting up in this air area. Where the idea I'm putting over here is it's just tall. Things are off the ground, I guess. I think that's a good way to describe it. It's like, oh, and there's plenty of these too. So it's not like you can build a nice area here. See, I'm just building this whole island. I'm just filling this island with these images. And then that's the air kingdom, or air district of Merovingia. Fire, earth needs something more earthy. I think the earth kingdom would have some land, like buildings. Probably this will be the between the fire and the earth. I think I need more volcanoes, really. So let's try this. I'm going to enable Regional Classic, and I'm just going to type in volcano. And we see, oh, we got some smoky ones. Oh, here I got 8. It has a little symbol here. I got 8 volcanoes, so we can do something with that. Shrink, let's put a volcano. Let's grow it and put a volcano up here. And then it shifts and gives me a different one, ever so slightly. And it's kind of just a layer of volcanoes I'm putting in over here. Is it 2 on the nose? Probably. Does that matter? No. Because it's my story. There. So that clearly denotes that as fire. This, I think this world tree thing going on over here clearly denotes it as wind or air. I think I may have gone overboard with these karsts. But in the middle, I'm leaving a lot of the stuff off of it because it's in the middle. So, continuing on with these objects, something really interesting about them is the fact that you can click and move them around. And it seems that they've made this a little better since the version I used. Maybe not. When I had that problem, I couldn't click on the individuals when I had a bigger one in the way. So I guess maybe it's moving it. You can see how as I move it, it puts it on different layers. So I guess that's kind of important. I come in here, I can click on that one. I can click on that one instead. So they seem to have done some good work in terms of layering and making things clickable or unclickable. So I like that. So once it's down, you can move it around anywhere you want. These, however, I'm going to just drag select over everything. And I'm going to send these to the underground. Is that possible? Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. If I go here. Nope, it's just the background. So the objects can't be put on the background layers, so that one's kind of silly. Next, we're going to talk about buildings. Let's add some buildings into our world. I think that's an important thing to have when you're building an area where people live. So, with the fire people, let's put something interesting in there. Fire building. I got a lot of campfires. Human buildings, jungle buildings. I feel like jungle buildings would go really well. Like these jungle buildings could go really well in the air area. So I'm going to click on that one. Let's put some buildings over here. And these are going to they're just going to represent probably towns. Like one building will be a whole town. They're not going to be a small town map. But this is so we'll put this building right under here, under this tree. And that's like a city, right? And we can pick a different building just by going here. We can choose this other jungle building, and we can drag it over here, and we can make it smaller. This is the air people who live at the base of the mountain. That seems to look okay. And let's do one more. I'm going to type in tree house. We're going to see how this works. Tree home. They have tree home. Oh, it is a tree home. Let's use this. So we're going to take this tree home and we're going to make it a bit bigger. And we're going to put this tree home on the top of this thing. I wonder how this will look. Oh, it's behind it. So I need to move it forward, actually. That doesn't seem to work. Let me see if I can drag it, select it, and drag it. When does it turn up? You know what I think I need to do? Drag it above. Does this work? Nope. It doesn't seem to work if I do that. Okay, so that's a little silly, I think. Ooh, I can hit move forward. Move forward. There we go. So you can hit the little box, hit the move forward, move backward, or delete, and I moved it forward. So now it's like there's this little tiny house sitting on this mountaintop. That's where people will live too. So we got 3 kind of settlements for the air people. Well, let's do some for the water and the others. The water would be like a blue kind of building. Oh, I see one that actually works pretty well, but I'm going to look at others first. Oh, these are even better. They call them elven houses, but no, we're taking them to be settlements and such. So we're going to take this big one, this Elven House 1. And we're just going to say, okay, water genasies, maybe they're less around. So they really only just have one big city that they live in. And you know what? Nah, let's be nice to them. Let's give them another settlement too. I like the style of this, so I'm going to use the same style, but make it a lot smaller. I'm going to use this Elven Bathhouse as a token of a location. But I'm going to make it a lot smaller, so this is like the small city, the small town. Yeah. So that's kind of neat. So already different architectures for different types of genasies or different elemental uses, which I think that's kind of important. Let's look at Earth. I wanted something that stands out from the air a little bit with Earth. Luckily, these guys have some that I think might work. Let's take a look. I kind of like these desert temples are kind of cool, but nope, the dwarven Earth Genasi, gotta have dwarven style architecture. I think that makes sense. So let's start with this dwarven castle. It'll be a small one, but we'll put it a little separated. Put it here at the foot of this mountain. So it's like the king under the mountain. Let's do a different one. There's some temples, there's some towers. I like the idea that they use towers all along here. And they can be varying sizes. Oh, since it selected it, it just changed the size. I like the idea that there's like, these are like beacons, like the beacons of Gondor. That's what that's all about. Let's do one more building in the Earth area here. Because I really like the look of these ones. Ooh, a mine. What if we put a mine, right? Hear me out. We put a mine right here, and this connects them all the way over to this one. So they have like an underground, like a channel that they use. And I'm going to put this a little more into the mountain. I think that's a cool idea. I'm running with that one. So this is a tunnel that goes all the way over here. Because earth and air, and maybe it has a stop in the water area. No, even better, I'm gonna put a stop in the water area because the fire people already got a little tunnel here, so they have underground tunnels that they can get through without having to fly or take a boat. They can still get everywhere they need to go. That makes sense to me. It doesn't really, but it does. So we need to find one that's more in the elven mine. Do they have elven mines? No, they don't. Then I just need one that's just a cave, just a hole. Ooh, let's do this. Let's give them some class, right? We'll give them these elven gates right up against these crystals. And I'll just put it, make it a little bigger. It's got to match, right? It's got to be almost the same size. Then I'll just put it right up here on this crystal. I'm actually going to move it down a little bit so it's sitting on the ground. Boom. Boom. There we go. All right. I think that looks cool. So down, oh, I failed. Didn't get it on the ground all the way. All right, now I think that looks cool. So that's their entrance. There's the earth and the fire. We need some fire buildings, of course. Let's see what we can think of here with the fire. What would be a good architect for fire? We've already used Dwarven. We used like an elven design for the water. We've used kind of this monastery, temple, jungle look for the air. Fire needs something also a little different. I like the orc style that they've created in here. That's kind of cool. They also have these Eastern style stuff is kind of cool. Karst dwellings. Oh, these are designed to go on the big rocks that I put up. Well, I messed that up. Let's see, what else do they got here? Simple buildings. These are some of the dwarven ones. My impression of these objects, though, is the HD ones, these new ones that they've created, look really cool to me. I think they definitely took the orcs design straight out of Warcraft, but who wouldn't? That's, you gotta do that. But I do like the look of the HD versions a little more than the earlier SD versions, you could say. So I'm gonna go with the orc design because I like that a little. It has a little more flavor to it. So this one will have this at the base of the volcano because fire genasi are crazy like that. And we'll pick a different building as well from the orc menu. We'll just do the village and we'll put a little orc village kind of off in this corner. Now we'll put it over here because someone's got to light the beacons. All right. So that's that. So that's basically what I'm doing there. I do have an idea of something I've used in another software that I thought was cool, and it's using cliff faces to design and make an edge to your earth, to your land. but I don't see a whole lot of cliff face. This one has 16. Okay. Let's see what we got here. So it's something like you take a cliff face, right? Like this. Oh, I already did that. And then you would come in and you'd scale it to match the terrain. Yes, and then you click and it adds it. And then you can fill in there with land. And it's kind of hard to see at the moment unless we zoom in and like I drag around. Whoops. Or here, I broke it. I'm just going to go back to where we were. 97. So it creates that like weird divot there. I'm gonna go back yet again. Did I break it? I may have undid too much. Okay. My building's there. Let's look at these other tools now. Now that we'd played with the objects, I got too into it. I didn't look you in the eyes in the camera at all once that time. Text. Text has different fonts, as it should. Ooh, it has Cinzel, which is one of my favorite of these like free fonts. I personally like Trojan Pro, which looks a lot like Skyrim fonts, but Cinzel is also very good. I'm gonna give this a title. We're gonna put it down here, and then we're gonna say it's type over here. We go Merovingia. I like that. I can select it. With the select tool, I can move it around where I want it to be a little better. With it selected, I can still go in and change things. So I have some opacity. I can, make it more or less. Change the, they put a lot of options here. I can change the letter spacing and the height and the font. I can change, I can give it a shadow. Let's give it a drop shadow. I am a big fan of those. Drop shadows are really cool. Just give it a little offset on everything, and it'll look nice. I'm just gonna simplify it, give it a 2 for on each one. It's got a little shadow. Merovingia. So the text tool is pretty straightforward. The path tool looks like it just lines. You can do dashes and lines and things, and you can draw roads between places. I'm not gonna draw roads on this one. That's a little more in depth than I want to do. You can also add notes, add points of interest, like I could place a note here and write out a whole bunch about the location, which actually that's really cool. And then you can turn on a grid. You can activate a hex grid or a square grid, and all you have to do, I believe, is click the show grid button and change the size. So I want it to take about, how big do I want these to be? A grid generally is about 5 miles, I believe, in D&D standards. So I want these to be a little bigger than that. So I want the islands at the narrow points to be about 5 miles. Yeah, that works actually. That size fits. Lower the opacity to very little because I don't want an overbearing grid right now. I like how my compass rose has kind of been buried. I'm going to move it and shrink it. I'm going to go ahead and put it over. Whoops. Okay, be careful of clicking and dragging. I'm going to move it down here by the name, and then I'm going to scale it down. And if I can center it over the name, more or less, that's even better. Cool. Merovingia. You know what, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I'm missing something, because I said these beacons here are going to be the beacons of Gondor, essentially. So I need fire. I realize I made a terrible error when I didn't just have fire. I guess I can do a campfire. It'll work. And I'm just gonna try to scale it and have a fire sitting on top of each of these. I'm gonna click this and make sure I move it forward. There we go. Each of these gets a fire on it. I think this is gonna make it the bee's knees right here. This is what you came here for. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that map, actually, Merovingia. So the idea, I guess, Inkarnate 1.0 is a lot of the same, what you just saw. It's a lot of the same stuff, upgraded things. Of course, you have different objects to put on the maps. You have different colors, different textures. But the main thing, it all works the same. The thing I really like about it is the ability to go ahead and do a 4K HD map. I'm obsessed with high resolution. I shoot all my videos in 4K. I try to work in high resolution as best I can because I think that's the future. And I like to keep up with the future. I think that is a great addition, and I'm very happy they've included that in this. That makes it much more worth it to me. In terms of the cost, at $5 a month, it's still not a lot, but I can understand some people won't have that available to them, like I've mentioned, which is why I did the whole video, and I mentioned other softwares that will do the same thing. One thing I failed to check out that I'm going to do right now, if I go to Objects, and I click over here on Choose, I have the option to upload. It says an upload file, a PNG or JPEG are supported up to 8,192 pixels square. That's huge. That's a big image. So I guess that makes sense. This would take the cake. WonderDraft is really good about this. You can upload or kind of put images into the WonderDraft libraries. This, if it doesn't have a limit on how many images you can put in, that would take it for me. I would need some more testing. The other one I would say is texture, brushes. Can I add more brushes? Whoa. Already has a lot. It included some of mine that I had imported previously. But if I upload, so again, same limitation on uploads there. Again, I'll need to do more testing and see if there's any limits on how many brushes I can upload. I know that's kind of a nitpicky thing to do because it is sharing their server space. So it makes perfect sense if they limit that. It would be nice if they could find a way to make that unlimited, but then people would, of course, abuse that, and I know I would. Which is partially why I like the WonderDraft system where it's downloaded on my computer. But all in all, first impressions of this software, I think this is cool. I'm really happy they're taking it to the next level. Probably going to make me use it more often since I can use this at my workplace or perhaps on my laptop. Speaking of which, we're going to take a couple minutes and run that. So again, as I'm booting up the laptop, this might be skewed because I'm trying to do a screen capture of the laptop. So that may affect the performance of the system itself, but I am going to talk through it a little bit. I can't find my mouse. I can't find my laptop mouse anywhere, which is really annoying. But that's life for you, I guess. All right. So again, loading in, it has Merovingian. So here's the test. I edited Merovingian in 2K on my big computer. Now I'm here. I'm going to try to open this in 1K. So by clicking on this hamburger, you're supposed to be able to click open, add resolution, and change it to medium. And then try that. Let's see how this opens and see how this runs. Hopefully good. If they've nailed this, if they can nail this switch off of low power computers running it and high powered computers running it and being able to go between the two, that would just be beautiful, beautiful thing. Because my crap top here has been, I've had it for like 4 years and it barely functions, but I use it only for writing, and I run my games with it. So I would love to be able to actually edit a map on this. And it's loaded. It loaded in. I'm gonna just toy around real quick, change the size of this and paint an area. Ran faster than my desktop did. And I am recording it's low res footage, but it is recording. So I'm able to add land. I'm gonna try to subtract it. I'm not gonna get too in depth because I don't have my mouse like I mentioned. And I think creating the edges of the territory is a very time-consuming thing. But that did it just fine. So I have my map here on my laptop. I can work on it. I can hit, here's what I'll do. I'll add a little text and I'll put it here, and I'll say crap top was here. Crap top was here. And then I'll hit enter and I'll write get bent. And I'll save it. Says map saved. I'm gonna hit quit editor on my desktop computer. So I'm gonna go ahead and close up stop recording on my screen here. So it does work on the laptop, on the garbage system. So that's good to know. Did it pass the edits over to my big system? I go here, Merovingian, wrong one. This, you'll see what I just clicked. It like opened up a whole other view of my map. I can't edit it on here, but I can click open map and do things here. Anyways, so we're gonna go here, we're gonna say open at resolution, still high at 2K, and say open map at 2K, and see if the change is saved. It's taking a while to load, probably because the 2K, and there it says crap top was here, get bent. So, it works. Laptops, the low-end systems do work with the 1K resolution, so I dig it. I dig that a lot. Good work. That's better than a lot of things. One of my biggest problems that I have currently is I work a full-time job. I try to make these videos. I have to prepare for sessions a lot, which I want to do like session prep videos or something. But my biggest thing is I'd like to prep more on my laptop rather than my work computer. Don't tell them I use it on my work computer. But it's too underpowered. So having this, being able to make a map on my laptop takes a world of difference. So good job. If you are interested in checking out Inkarnate 1.0, which as you see is very similar to old Inkarnate, but better, you can go sign up on their website for access, for beta access. I believe right now you're supposed to have a premium subscription to it in order to get the beta access, but don't take my word for it because I don't know what they are thinking in their minds currently. If you get it, try it out. Let me know what you think of this software because I think it's kind of cool. I'm glad that they've updated some things. I might use it some more now that the tokens and the images look a little more to my liking. But overall, it's pretty cool. So, I've been Richard. Thanks for watching.
If you like what you see on the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. You can also click over here to see more videos in this playlist, or over here to see what YouTube suggests you watch from my channel.